On behalf of the Work Better Now team, I'd like to welcome everybody to this episode of Working Better Now, a series on workbetternow.com featuring a Q&A with a successful business leader. And today I'm really psyched to be joined by Alana Winter, executive coach and leadership team facilitator, as well as founder of MI6 Academy. Alana, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Rob. It's a delight.
Awesome. Let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about your business, or I should say, in your case, your businesses.
Sure. So MI6 Academy is one. MI6 Academy, you can think of it as your James Bond training camp for teams. So I bring in all of the kinds of people that would train James Bond: CIA, Navy SEALs, Russian Spetsnaz, Israeli Mossad agents. And it's a super fun program where you learn all of these crazy skills like stunt car driving and shooting weapons and hand-to-hand combat and deception detection, how to read people, how to play the perfect hand of poker. But what it's really about, there's the fun adventure element of it. There's self-confidence and empowerment. And then the takeaway is what all these experts are great at is being super present in the moment, clearly seeing what's happening around them so they can react appropriately instead of having knee-jerk response, which is a super useful skill in business and in life. So that's one program that I do with teams. And then my other work is executive coaching one-on-one with CEOs on their leadership journey. And I also work with leadership teams, and I help them to create their values, really clarify and codify the values, vision, higher purpose of the company, break through any communication blockages, also for conversations around innovation, deepening conversation and communication. So I facilitate all of those kinds of retreats and conversations with them.
Got it. Fantastic. So how did you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this? Because it's really cool, and it's pretty unique too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not a usual career path, I will say. I was raised to be an entrepreneur, so that was never a question growing up, but I was always fascinated with human psychology. I have a degree in psychology. I studied every form of personal development that there is, every wisdom tradition that there is. So the work that I do now is really a blend of that journey of 25 years of experience of building companies and understanding all of those leadership challenges combined with the psychology that I have. And the MI6 Academy came from just watching too many Bond movies when I was a little girl and figuring that one day I'd go to the school that all those people go to so I could learn to be that cool and confident. And when I couldn't find it, I built it. So that's how it all ties in together.
Awesome. Awesome. So, you're working with entrepreneurs, with CEOs, as well as with teams. Let's just talk about CEOs right now and business owners, entrepreneurs. What are we're now getting hopefully on the back end of this pandemic. What are the top challenges or opportunities that your CEOs are dealing with right now?
I think this is the timeless challenge, honestly, Rob. I think that any challenges that a leader has internally will be writ large across their organization. So I think the key challenge for entrepreneurs, for leaders of any type, truly, is developing a self-awareness to see and understand what their biases are, what their paradigms are, and how that creates a filter that they interpret the world through and that they interpret conversations through. Because that filter is what gets in the way of clear, efficient, great communication, right? And that's the key challenge, I think, of leadership, because without that, one always has challenges with their team, with getting their message across, with investors, with the marketplace. So being able to have that self-awareness and see the part that they play in every interaction, communication, relationship, when you can get clarity on that, I think that's what smooths the way for basically everything.
Gotcha. So let's say you're working with a CEO and you help him or her with that, where they're understanding where their biases are coming from or what they are and where they're coming from. And then now you're going to the next phase. You're working with the team. What does that typically look like? How do you capitalize on the work you just did? What are the challenges that you see there when the CEO is now working with their teams, or when you're just working with their teams?
Yeah. Well, that work, by the way, is not like, oh, we sit down in an hour and we figure it out, right?
Right.
Because in the human brain, that's what our brain will always do. So frankly, that's a lifetime of work. I mean, I do this professionally and I have to work on it for myself every single day. Right? It's really a practice. So with the teams, I can come in and work with teams in various capacities. One of the really core fundamental things that I find is getting clarity on higher values and purpose. Especially in the world today, and this really does tie into the pandemic. Everybody's talking about the Great Resignation. We went through a time period, people have gone through tremendous upheavals in their life, working from home. I think it's caused everyone to stop and take stock of their life and say, what do I want my life to be about? What do I want to invest my energy in? Because that's really all we have in the world, right? Is our time and our energy. So I think people are much more selective as to where they want to put that energy now. And it is a super tight marketplace for talent, and teams or people are looking at, well, I can get more than just a paycheck. I want to work at a company that has a mission that I believe in, stands for something, that's a workplace that supports me, right? And those things are all going to be interrelated. A company that stands for something, so many companies have done their values. And I love it when I talk to a CEO, I'm like, oh, yeah, we've done our company values. I'm like, great, what are they?
Right.
And they're like, well, I don't remember exactly, but I know they're on the wall somewhere.
On the wall, right.
Right. Or they're in the drawer, right? I think integrity is one of them. That means that the company doesn't actually have values or really stand for anything, right? And they have to be true. And when they're true, this is the beauty. When a company has true values, you can ask a client who's never heard what they are, and that client can tell you what those company values are.
It's pretty powerful.
Right. I've never looked at Apple's. I don't know what their values are, but I bet creativity and innovation would be on their values list. Right? It's like, you know from what the experience is. So if you don't have a set where your customers could tell you what your values are and what you stand for, and all of your employees would say, yeah, because that's my experience, that carries all the way through, then you don't really have them. So working with a company, I think that's the number one thing now that teams need to focus on. And it's not a question of sitting down and picking values that sound good. It's what's true and what's authentic and what comes truly from the heart of everyone on the leadership team. And that's what filters down. So it's super satisfying. I love to do it. And when a team starts with that, then there's so many other places we can go, but that's the foundational thing that teams have to do now.
Right. So when a team has locked down their values and their mission, how does the company then spread the gospel? I mean, in theory, not in theory, but in reality, if these are true, then they're just happening every day, right? But how do you then make a little bit more of a conscious decision to make sure, or to do your best to ensure that the entire organization understands what these are and what it really means?
Oh, there's so many fun ways to roll that out, right? I'm thinking back to a company that I worked with, and just by coincidence, we did their leadership team retreat in late February of 2020, just before lockdown, right? And so we codified their core values. They did, as lockdown started, they meant to do it in person, but they couldn't. They did it on video, communicating to the team what those were. That company grew from 35 employees to they now have about 140. They grew that over lockdown, and credit being able to have done that to that clarity of values. And it's so exciting. I do workshops now for their team. We get on and we'll talk about it. So how do you spread it? Certainly letting everybody know, creating policies that exemplify it, creating your HR policies that hire around that, that promote people around that, and that remove people from the organization who are not living and exemplifying that. Right. You make it come to life by looking at all of your customer policies. Do all of our customer policies reflect this? Right. What needs to be changed? Does the language on our website reflect this? If we interact with the community, does the way that we interact with the community reflect this? Does the way each person live reflect this, right? Think about giving staff bonuses and recognizing people, not just for what they do at work, but for how they're exemplifying your company's core values in their life or in their community. When you do that, that's what really brings it home to your team and says, okay, this is not just words, they really mean this.
No explanation necessary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting as you're saying this, I'm thinking pre-pandemic, you heard a lot about millennials wanting, purpose-filled work, but we've obviously gone way past millennials. A lot of people, Gen X's, et cetera, are now, I think, are coming to that same conclusion. And it's, you see it all the time. You can see the companies that are able to hire and the companies that are struggling to retain employees.
Totally. And it's also, it's not just Gen X, we're getting to a phase where for the first time ever, we'll have 5 generations simultaneously in the workplace, right? Because people, 65, who's going to retire at 65 when your life expectancy is going up through the roof? And at 65, people are vibrant, active, and alive. And a lot of those people don't have to work for a paycheck. They're working because they want something meaningful to do in their life.
Yeah, very well.
It's across the board now.
Very well said. Alana, how do you have different businesses, probably lots of different opportunities. I'm sure clients try to hire you, all sorts. How do you stay focused on your mission, your values, and your goals?
Well, first getting super clear on what my values are, right? Just like with a company, an individual has to get super clear on what their values are. So my top 3 highest values are connection, grace, and wisdom. Now, those words can mean completely different things to different people, right? So I have my own definitions of them. But I look at every opportunity that comes my way, and if it does not fit with my highest values, if the client does not fit with my highest values, it's not the job for me. It's not where I would put my energy and my time. And I think that's the highest thing. And I think that's such an important question, Rob, because as people get more successful, more opportunities come your way. And it can be very easy for successful entrepreneurs to get very lost in, oh, shiny, right? People are throwing all kinds of things at them. And without having a North Star to guide you to decide what to pick on, it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, I've been there. Alana, what do you like to do when you're not working?
I love to travel. That's absolutely my favorite thing. When I was a little girl, I had a globe in my room, one of these 3D globes that, the mountain ranges, and I used to just stare at that. And I'd run my fingers over them and I'd read the names of these exotic places, and I couldn't wait to go and see them. And so from the time I was 5, one of my life goals was just to take a walk around the world. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And that, travel for me lets me see different cultures, and I love to really interact with people. So I spend a lot of time learning languages so that I can communicate with people in their language, and I can get different perspective. And that's shaped so much of who I am and my philosophies. I spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia. In spending time in Southeast Asia, I saw a different kind of culture where things were not quite as compartmentalized as they are for us in the West, where work and family and friends and spiritual beliefs all kind of merged into one throughout the day. And I love that. And that's an example of something that's influenced me through travel.
Awesome. Awesome. Alana, where can people find out more about you and your companies?
AlanaWinter.com. They can find out there, and there's a easy spot on there where you can book a call with me. I'd be delighted to chat with you. And for MI6 Academy, it's mi6academy.com, and we can do really fun stuff for your team.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Alana, thanks so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to speak with the Work Better Now community. I really appreciate it.
Total pleasure. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.